guys, welcome back to my channel. So as you guys can see by the title, today we are going to be setting up my new snail tank. If you guys watched my last video, which I did post Friday, then you guys know that I did go and buy a small 2-gallon top fin tank for my snails. If you guys have been following along on my channel also with my fish videos, then you guys know that I did have a pest snail infestation in my 10-gallon tropical tank that I did set up about 3 weeks ago now. After reading all of your comments and taking all of your guys' advice into consideration, I have decided obviously to take all the snails out of that tank. In fact, I've already taken out probably 99% of them, and all of my biggest ones, including my really big leopard ramhorn, are now in my little moss ball container. The snails have been in here overnight, and that is because I wanted to go on and extract them all out of the 10-gallon and get them ready for their new tank, which is right here. If you guys saw my video from Friday where I did go and buy this tank, if you haven't, I will link it for you down below or put it on the screen. But if you guys saw that video, then you know that I weighed my options very heavily. I took all of your comments into great consideration. I really appreciate your guys' comments on all of this, my situation, what I should do with the snails, you know, what I should do in the future. It's all very helpful because it helps me to look at all of my options and then weigh what works best for me. So I did weigh all of my options. I read all of your comments warning me how they can turn into 300 very fast, and obviously because they are not the snail that I originally intended on having in my 10-gallon, I am deciding to take them out and I'm going to be putting them into this tank. I think I got about 99% of them out, but any more that I see, I'm just going to be plucking them and putting them in here. I'm also going through a whole lot more with my tank, but we'll talk about that in another video. So for this video, we are just going to be focusing on setting up the snail tank. I'm really excited. I think it's going to turn out really good. I have everything I'm going to be using right here, and we'll go over all of that in just a second. If you guys enjoyed this video on how to set up a snail tank, this specifically is for ram's horn and pest snails, also known as bladder snails. Feel free to subscribe down below and also hit the notification bell. Okay, so really quick, I'm going to just show you guys what all I have here. For right now, this is all that I'm going to be putting into this tank. Obviously, if you're going to be putting things like fish or shrimp or anything like that in your tank and you're doing a water change, or you're just putting water in there to top it off or anything, always be sure to prime your water. I'm going to prime it today. This is by Seachem. It's just a really good all-in-one primer. I really like this stuff. I used it with the tadpoles. I've been using it with this tank, and so far so good. So we're going to be using that today. Just remember to always prime your tap water. And then I also have a bowl of rocks. I had a ton of rocks left over from where I sat at my tropical tank, so I just used some of those. These are just really small, smooth pebbles. These are not gravel or sand or anything like that. They're just really smooth rocks, and I really like them. I think they're pretty. And then I also have this little tank decoration. I know these plants are fake, and I am gonna be putting real plants in my tank. However, at the moment, all of the plants that are in my planted aquarium are kind of compromised at the moment. Long story longer, I'm not gonna be putting any of those plants in here right now. So we're just gonna be putting a fake one in there, and we are gonna put a moss ball in there, and then I'm gonna just sprinkle some fish food, and the snails will be absolutely fine with that. They'll be fine, it's not a big deal. So let's get started. So this is a 2-gallon top fin tank. It does have 4 color options, which I'll show you guys maybe once we get it all set up. This tank is kind of like a hexagon type. You'll see whenever I get it out. It's really pretty, at least I think it's pretty. It has a little instruction guide here. Here is the top. It does have LED lights. A few more things we are going to be putting in the tank is this little bitty rock hide. This is like a fake rock hide, but snails love to hide during the day whenever it's bright. So I did get this to put into the snail tank because I thought it was pretty cute. I also got Bug Bites by Fluval. This is a tropical fish food. I was told that this is a really good food to cycle tanks with, so I did get some of this, and I'm also just going to sprinkle this in the tank. As it decays, the snails will eat it. It's all good. So I did get some of that. And I also got this little foam insert cartridge thing for a Fluval filter. Even though this tank doesn't have a Fluval filter on it, it literally just has like a kind of cheapy little top fin filter. We are going to kind of manipulate this filter a little bit using this. I'll show you guys that whenever we get to it. All right, so here is the tank. It's pretty good size. All right. I am going to go rinse this out really quick, and then I'll be back. It's just a good practice to do before you ever put fish or water or decorate a tank or anything. Just always give it a good rinse really quick, and then I'll be right back. So as you can see, I did rinse it out really well, but I also added some water in here about 1/3 of the way up, just to soften the blow of the rocks I'm about to dump in here. I haven't primed this water yet. I'm gonna wait till it's all the way full, then I'll pour in my primer, and then we can go on and put the snails in there. So I have my rinsed rocks here. I don't actually know how many I'll need, but I'm hoping this will be enough. Okay, so we have the rocks in there now. Now we can go on and start putting in either more water, or we can go on and start putting in some of the decor. I think we're gonna do some of the decorations. So I have this little rock cave type thing, so we're gonna go on and put that in there. Let's put that towards the back. I kind of like the way that will look in here. Right, now I kind of want to put in this little rock cave that I bought them because I think this is really cute. Ouch, I can't do that. And then I am going to put in this little moss ball. It does have a little bit of hair algae left on it, but I'm not really worried about it. The snails will probably get it, and if they don't, it's not a big deal. Snails and shrimp love moss balls, so I know that the snails will really love climbing all over this one. Okay, I think this is looking really, really good. So you're kind of getting an idea of what it looks like. I may end up having to move this depending on how that filter sits in here. I think it looks really good so far. Okay. All right, next we're gonna work on this filter. Now, the one thing I do wanna mention is that the intake on a filter can sometimes suck up snails, especially if it's a really powerful filter like the one that's on my 10-gallon. So you do have to get some sort of a foam cover. Fluval makes one. I did order it, but it hasn't come in the mail yet. These holes are actually really, really tiny, so I don't think it's gonna be a super big issue for the snails. I will have to watch that. But I did already order one of the fluval covers that you slip over the intake, and it just prevents any type of small animals like shrimp or snails from being sucked into it. So that's something I really wanted to mention. Even if you're using a cheap little filter like this that comes with a standard tank, I did order the intake cover by Fluval. I got it off Amazon. It is in the mail. It hasn't come yet, but when I get that, I will be slipping that over here as well. Okay, so we're gonna go on and we're gonna open this little cheap cartridge that it came with. I don't really like these cartridges. I think a lot of fish keepers don't really use these and they don't like them. But again, since this is just a little pest snail tank and a little ram's horn tank, it's not a big deal. But I am gonna add in some extra filter media, which I will show you guys. And then you can see there's extra room on both sides, which is where we're gonna put in a little bit of extra filter media. So this is a little Fluval foam insert for filter media that I bought. It goes to a completely different tank and filter than this. But whenever I pulled it out of the box at the store, because it was small and I was looking for some additional filter media for this filter, I noticed that whenever you pull this out and you open it, it has a little square inside, and I think this was like $1 or $2. It was super inexpensive, so I was like, okay, I want that. So basically, I'm just gonna take this little bitty cube and I'm gonna slide it right down into this filter like that, just for a little added filter media, nothing too crazy. Okay, so that's not in the way, that's really good. The next thing we're gonna do is fill this up the rest of the way. We gotta put water in the filter before we turn it on because you don't wanna dry start it. And then we are going to prime the water. All right, so I have the first bowl of water. So for a 5-gallon bucket of water, it's to the first line inside the cap of a bottle of prime. So I'm gonna do half of that. So like literally like 5 drops of prime, and that'll be good for a 2-gallon. It's okay if you get a few drops too many or a few drops too little. It's not a big deal, it's not gonna hurt them. Like I said, they're really, really hardy. Obviously, if you're doing this for fish or shrimp or something that's more sensitive, be sure to measure it exactly, but it's kind of hard to measure for such a small tank. So I'm just gonna do about 5 drops, not that much. All right, so now that it's primed, we can go on and put the snails in there. I am gonna get the snails out of this and put them in a bowl so you guys can see them better, and then we'll put them in there one by one pretty carefully. I'm not just gonna dump this in there because I actually don't want this water in there. It's kind of like old tank water, so we're gonna get them out. I'll be right back. All right, so here I have every single snail that I picked out of my 10-gallon tropical tank, including my really big ram's horn, which I absolutely love. I'll turn it this way so you guys can see him a little better. But this is pretty much every single snail that I have picked out of my 10-gallon tropical and that we're gonna be putting into the snail tank today. I think I'm gonna go on and put my biggest ram's horn in there first. Come here, baby. That's what he looks like. I love him. He's a leopard ram's horn and he's so pretty. He's like so big compared to the other snails. We'll sit him on the moss ball. I'm just putting them in there one by one because that's kind of just the easiest way since they are pretty small. These are 2 teeny tiny ram's horn snails. They're teeny tiny. They're really, really hard to see and I can feel them moving on my fingers, so I need to get them in the tank, but they are so adorable. One of them's crawling. Okay, so the snail tank is completely done. The only thing left to do is to turn it on. I'm gonna show you guys all the light options that it comes with, see if I can figure them out. Oh wow, look at my big ram's horn. Can you guys see him? Also, I do have to get the foam cover for the filter intake just so that I don't suck up any snails. Even though the holes on this one are really, really small, it's better to be safe than sorry. So I'm gonna wait for that to come in to turn the filter on, but that's okay. They will be fine in here without the filter for a couple days till that comes. We are also gonna go on and feed them. Now, this is not a typical snail food, but snails do feed on algae and things. So I do have my moss ball in there, which I know has algae on it because it's had hair algae on there. So I know there's other types of algae on it as well. They can eat on that for a couple days while this food decays in there, and then they can munch on that. So there'll be plenty for them to eat in here. I'm not worried about that. You can also put in a piece of a cuttlefish. I do have some cuttlefish, which I may be putting that in there as well. That's really just to strengthen and harden their shells. So if you were gonna be feeding off your snails to something that needs a really hard snail shell, then you could put a cuttlefish in there for extra calcium, but I don't think that's necessary right now, but I could do that eventually. Okay, so let's turn it on. I'm gonna show you guys the lights. I'm gonna turn the lights out in here so you guys can see really good. I'm really excited. Here goes nothing. Okay, that's really, really pretty. Okay, so on this mode, the lights are changing colors. So it's cycling through, I think, 4 colors, like red, pink, purple, and then one more, maybe like a green. Yeah, there's green. So they'll have a filter, I'll feed them, they'll be fine in here. And if you guys wanted snails yourself, I highly recommend a little 2-gallon tank, a little 3-gallon tank, and I think your snails will be really happy in it. And it definitely helps my anxiety when thinking about snails overrunning my big tropical tank. So if you wanted to put a little heater in here, you absolutely can, but they do not need it, especially if it's a pest snail. Ooh, that's really pretty. Look how pretty. If it is a pest snail, you don't have to worry about a heater, but if you wanted to get one of those little bitty beta heaters, you totally could. Oh, they're so cute. Can you guys see them crawling all around? Look at my huge snail. My ram's horn is my favorite. He's so big. I love him. Like legit, if I lost him, I'd be so sad. The rest of them, I've got tons of, you know, the pest snails, but he's my favorite. Let's give them a little bit of food while we're in here. I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit of this fluval tropical fish food. We're just gonna take a little bit of this and just sprinkle a little bit in there, not a whole lot. Okay, so this is the Fluval Edge intake cover that I bought. This is basically just a sponge that has a hole, so it slides over the intake to make sure that you don't suck up any shrimp or small fish, fry, or snails. So I did get this, and we are gonna be putting this over the filter intake so that it protects our snails. So we're gonna go on and put that on there, and then we are going to turn it on and see if it works. Okay, so it looks kind of huge, like a speaker mic, but it did fit on there perfectly. Now we're just gonna put it in there, fill it up, and turn it on. And we're done. That is it. Now the snails will be safe, and it will get some really good filtration. So pretty. There's some of the snails up there. They're doing really good. There's a few on the algae ball. There's my big ram's horn. Oh, he's so pretty. I think it looks really good. Alright guys, that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching me set up my snail tank. I think it turned out really well. If you guys want any more updates on my snails in the future, or how many babies they have, or anything, feel free to let me know in the comments, and I will be glad to do more updates for you guys. I have a lot of exciting videos coming up regarding my fish tanks. I'm having a lot of fun with them, even though my tropical tank is just in a really bad place right now, not gonna lie. I can honestly say the cycling process has been the hardest thing that I've probably ever done with animals. It's definitely been a trip, for sure. That's a story for another time, not for this video. But if you guys are interested in this series and you're enjoying it, feel free to let me know. I really appreciate all of your guys' input. But yeah, I'm really happy with the way this turned out. I think my snails are gonna be happy. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. I will see you guys next time. Be kind. Bye.